Thank you, Jenna. That was beautiful. Between the sacred reading and the music, I don't have to get up here and do talks.
Just joke.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all for coming out on this shaky day. I heard anywhere from a 5 to a 5.4, but welcome to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living, and welcome to those of you who may have stayed at home and are watching on YouTube in a shaky house, or maybe, I don't know, from Germany. Yeah. Probably not earthquakes in Germany, I don't know. But thank you for coming out. Welcome to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Our theme for January originally was back to basics. And my idea was that I'd go back and talk about some of the basic principles and what we believe. And I got this bright idea. I'll take Ernest Holmes, what we believe. He's got 11 points in there. And wow, we just divided up into 4 Sundays. You know, that gives me 3 points each Sunday. Imagine that. Don has 3 points. And then I can have one. Boy, it's all going to be done. It's going to be easy. I throw in a couple of Ernest Holmes quotes, a joke or two, boy, we've got the whole month already done. It didn't quite work out that way. First of all, started off with a chance to get to the cabin. And I haven't been up there. I have no idea how it survived the earthquake, what happened, or anything else. And we got a chance to go, and Kaleem had this awesome talk at the end of the World Healing Peace meditation on New Year's Eve. He gave sort of a capsule of what he had experienced in that meditation, and I thought, you got to do a talk on that. So, wow, the universe is conspiring. So Kaleem does the talk, I get to go to the cabin, but I never made it. We tried for 3 days, and the universe just conspired. And then finally it was 11 below, and Joy was cold, the grandkids were cold, and my son and I were sweaty, and that isn't a good combination, sweaty and 11 below. So what is that? Honor is the better part of valor. We decided to let the universe dictate, and so we didn't ever make it into the cabin. But this idea of going into the basic ideas of what we believe. And as I went together to try to put something together for this week, I couldn't get all 3 of the first ones put together in it. But the very first, what we believe, really struck me for a lot of different reasons. Now, I had to memorize these in school. But rereading this again, I realized I'm not the same person as I was in school. And this struck me a different way, but I want to repeat it. We believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all of creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. That's quite a mouthful. What does that mean? I think it can mean something different to each one of us. The title of my talk today is The Thing Itself. Now, we all have a different type of a relationship with a higher power or not, or with some type of something in the universe. And it goes by many, many, many different names, from Buddha to Allah to Ernest Holmes, the thing itself. Whatever name we assign to that higher power is what we're going to try and talk about today and kind of get my arms around. The thing itself. In a different place, Ernest Holmes, this is actually out of his book, This Thing Called You, said, talking about that power, that presence, whatever it is the invisible essence and substance of every visible form. Its nature is goodness, truth, wisdom, and beauty, as well as energy and imagination. Our highest satisfaction comes from a sense of conscious union with this invisible life. Well, that guy could pack a lot of meaning in a short amount of time. An invisible essence and a substance of every visible form. Its nature is goodness, truth, wisdom, and beauty. And we also refer to it as energy and imagination. Our highest satisfaction comes from a sense of conscious union with this invisible life. So what do we really mean by that? How do we describe it? And I've used these terms before, I've talked about that, but I want to go into them a little bit deeper now. The first term that I want to talk about is immanent. And I want to draw the distinction between immanent with an E and immanent with an A. We have immanent A. And it is the doctrine or theory of immanence holds that the divine encompasses or is manifested in the material world. The question that could go with that is, what is the immanence of God? And the answer is that God's immanence refers to the presence within its creation. A belief that God's immanence holds that God is present in all of creation while remaining distinct from it. In other words, there is no place where God is not. And that's as opposed to immanence with an E, which is something that is about to happen, something that's for sure going to happen. If you cheat on your income taxes, an audit by the IRS is imminent. That's not it. We're talking about the presence of God in and through all of everything. That is what we mean by immanence. Now, another term that I want to talk about a little bit about is transcendence. And that's an important term too. If something is transcended, is beyond or above the range of normal or merely physical human experience. In theology and in our terms, it refers to a deity that transcends the universe or time. It's greater than space and time. I like to think of it, on the human plane as the superheroes. The superheroes are transcendent. They are, faster than a speeding bullet and more powerful than a locomotive and can jump over buildings with a single bound. They're more than we can experience. They transcend our humanly experiences. Well, this thing that's called God transcends our experience. It transcends what we can do. Then typically a definition of a deity or a relationship to a God or a higher power falls into one of those two categories. But what we find within our movement is we look at the things that Holmes talks about and we fall into both. The deity that we deal with is both transcendent and immanent. Another word that we'll throw out is ineffable. I've used that numerous times. And ineffable is incapable of being expressed in words. Oh, what a perfectly human thing. Something that we can't put words around. It's too great to our finite words to put around it. So what do? We make up a word. We'll just do that. And that's the word, is immanent. It's too great for us to do. It's indescribable. Like ineffable joy. The first time when you see your new baby, it's an ineffable joy. Or unspeakable, ineffable disgust at something. It's more than you can put your words to. And this infinite presence is ineffable. But the question then is, what does all of these mental gymnastics have to do with me? We've got all this highfalutin, what I believe, and we're talking big words and ineffable and all this other stuff. What does that happen to do with me? I have real problems right here, right now. And how can all of this help me? What does what I think about God have to do with my health or my electric bill or my job or anything else? I want something that's going to help me live in this world today. Well, this month's issue of the Science Mind magazine, Did Jesus Heal? Well, I saw that with the day that it came out. I couldn't wait to rip it open and look at it. And it was cool. But the next article was even better. The next article talks about hardcore metaphysics. It's written by a guy I've never heard of, Galen McDowell, and he is I think some kind of a unity minister. But man, he writes a mean article. This is from his article. What we think about God matters. What we think about God unconsciously affects our worldview. How we see God and our relationship to God determines how we see life. What we believe, how we behave, our self-image, what we accept as true and what we deny as false. Even if you are an atheist or an agnostic, these concepts will determine how life is perceived.
Amen.
So, 20 years ago, if I was faced with that, trying to get into my cabin and being frustrated, going out there 3 days in a row, cutting brush, battling with a snow machine stuck up to your waist, probably using language Ann would classify as not ministerial. It would have had such a negative effect on me not being able to do that. But because I have a different idea of my relationship to a higher power, it's okay. I realize that I don't see the entire picture. Oh boy, and I can see the eyes rolling right now. Don's going to tell that silly parable about the blind monks and the elephant. We've heard that parable so many times. And I'm tired of being the blind monk with the tail. That's right. But it's absolutely the case. We don't see all of everything, and I don't know what the reason is why we were not able to make it into that cabin that week. But I do know that one of the nights we come back to Talkeetna with our tail between our legs, we didn't make it again, and our friend that lets us stay wanted to talk. We sat down and we had the greatest talk. And I don't know what's going to come of that, and I don't care. But I know that there's something greater going on. And I'm not the one to try and define what it's going to be. I've talked to people in classes, I don't know, maybe it's been in a sermon somewhere, but when I come in, I come down the Seward Highway, going north on the Seward Highway, and I get off at Diamond, and there is just a god-awful long light to make a left onto Diamond, and you sit there, and I have set my intention, and I hit that light right so often, it's way more than the law of averages would allow. It's off the chart more.
Wow.
But when I don't hit it, I don't worry about it anymore. Maybe that means there was a drunk driver coming down the old Seward that was going to run that light and T-bone me if I was those few seconds faster. I figure there's something more going on. Maybe that blind monk at the tail of the elephant isn't so bad. Okay, but still, how does all this have to do with my Chugach bill? What does that have to do with how I'm living my life and the things that we all face? What this article is about of Galen McDowell, he says, what do all the founders and early teachers of New Thought movement have in common? And he goes through and he looks at everything from unity to science of mind to all of the other branches of New Thought. And he looks for what I would call a golden thread throughout there. And he calls it hardcore metaphysics. He says, hardcore metaphysics is New Thought taught from its original position that humanity is God in expression and that we have the power to transform our experiences through thinking in alignment with the truth of our being. Humanity is God in expression and that we have the power to transform our experiences through thinking in alignment with the truth of our being. That's immanent. He's talking about an immanent higher power. He goes on. Hardcore metaphysics begins with the premise that God is the one presence and power in the universe. In ultimate reality, everything is perfect, whole, and complete. Hardcore metaphysics promotes the belief that humanity is a divine idea in the mind of God. Through our conscious awareness, we can manifest the wholeness of God in our everyday existence. It's a transcendent power as well. It is both immanent and transcendent. So what does this have to do with that? With our Chugach bill, with the problems that we have, the way we are in the world today? It means that we can see beyond the effect. It means that we can react in a different way. It doesn't mean that we go through life without problems. We're all going to have problems. I don't know of anyone who has sailed through life without ever having any problem of any kind or type. If they're out there, I haven't met them. And my guess is they haven't. But it's how we react to them and what we do. And we can take steps and we can not be diminished by our circumstances. We can rise above our circumstances. Conclusion. And this is once again from this article. This is what I want you to take away today. We are always demonstrating because consciousness demonstrates itself. However, not everyone is creating desired demonstrations. If we want desired demonstrations, we must study the basics of New Thought and practice the principles that produced magnificent healing, prosperity, and breakthroughs, and assisted in creating the self-help and positive thinking movements around the world. And I would add to that, get into these classes. We're offering classes, well, actually 3, because we've got practitioner classes going on all term, spring and winter terms. But get into the classes. These are interesting. They're exciting classes. They're short. They're 4 and 6 weeks. Get into the classes. And this will help you come to that place where you can see beyond the effects of what we do. And our purpose in doing this is so that we can have more fulfilled lives, so that we can go through life with more joy, appreciating beauty, with less focus on what we don't have and more gratitude for what we do have. And so with that in our consciousness, I would invite the practitioners, my colleagues, to join me in holding our congregation in love and light and just seeing beyond the effects of this world. Knowing for those that are suffering from lack and limitation that there's more month than there is paycheck. For those that are maybe have been furloughed and required to work and yet aren't getting paid. For those that are caught in situations that are beyond, we can simply know that we live in an abundant universe. And that there are things moving right now to open up and accept that prosperity, that abundance. And so I speak my word also for those that are facing health challenges, knowing that as we live and move and we age and we go through this thing that we call life, within each and every one of us, there is a spiritual prototype that is perfect. And it is that perfect and whole and complete prototype that we embrace. And for those of us that are suffering from relationship issues, we just simply know that the nature of this divine creative force that is expressing itself through and as each and every one of us, the nature of that force is one of love more than anything else. We are beings of love, and we may feel unloved, we may feel rejected, but the truth behind it, the capital T truth is that God is love and we are God. Therefore, we must be love. We are children of the Most High, and we have that divine DNA within each and every one of us. That love is who we are. And as we give love out, it is returned to us. And so I just give thanks. We give thanks for our awareness of the power and the presence of God. We give thanks now, and we just let the divine rule our lives. We let it go, we let it be, and so it is.
So it is.